everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Back at it with another video. I want to talk to you guys all about Mercury's ingress into the sign of Aries. It's really going to kind of get us ready and set up for some of these intentions that we're going to be setting for the astrological new year. And yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to take you guys through first the dates that Mercury will be in Aries. I'm going to talk about who it's going to be affecting the most. We'll talk a little bit about Mercury in this sign and why it's really important because it's all about being self-focused and initiating new things. We're also going to take a look at Mercury's trek through the sign of Aries throughout these next few weeks. I'll talk to you guys about what to watch for out in the world and obviously how it's going to affect each and every one of the 12 signs. And if you stay tuned till the end, I will be doing that along with tarot for each of you guys. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Do me a favor, click the button below, hit subscribe so you're alerted as to when I have new videos coming out on the channel. We've got videos coming out every couple days, new full moon reports, pretty soon the eclipses, horoscopes, and much more. And those of you guys who are returning, thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it. If you guys like my content, you can always donate. You can like, share, comment, subscribe, or join my memberships to help me continue to bring you guys new content. I've got all kinds of new stuff planned. Once we get into April, I'm going to be doing some new segments and some things hopefully on this channel. So stay tuned. Well, interesting times, huh? How are you guys doing right now? I know as many of you guys are watching this, it's a couple days early, so I'm just letting you know that once Mercury gets out of Pisces and we start to kind of get all of these planets moving out of Pisces, things are going to seem a little bit clearer. And the truth is this is really when the new year is going to start. So it's going to feel like 2023 is going to take off from the end of March all the way into April. The momentum of life is really going to pick up, but things right now are a little fuzzy. Not the best time for making serious decisions, okay? We've still got Mercury in conjunction to the Sun and Neptune. We are still in some of these squares to Mars and Gemini, so there's a sense of wanting to proceed forward very quickly before we have really thought everything through. This week is all about following our hunches, our gut intuition, and round about the 19th, 20th on, it's going to be a little bit clearer. So this is a great video to kind of just listen to and marinate on some of the new things that you're going to be starting in your life. As many of you guys know, Aries is the first sign of the astrological wheel. So Aries is the cardinal fire, right? It's about getting started. It's very self-focused. And it's kind of leading the sun. Mercury's going to pull ahead of the sun. We're going to see this Cazimi taking place this week. And it's going to be going into territory where Jupiter has been, Venus has been, and really receiving all of the messages in preparation before we see the sun go into Aries and we take action. So you're going to find that there's a lot of like, I think I should start this thing. And then the sun's going to ingress into Aries and you're going to go, yes, I'm going to start doing it. So you're going to start feeling a little bit more self-focused, right? So before I get too far ahead, the dates that you guys want to be watching for are basically going to be the March 19th, 2023 through April 3rd, 2023. This is where we're going to see Mercury hanging out in the sign of Aries. If you are a Aries sun, moon, or rising, obviously this will affect you, but more specifically the Mercury ruled chart. So if you're a Virgo or a Gemini rising, because Mercury is your chart ruler, you may feel this ingress a little bit more strongly, particularly you guys too, because you've been getting hit with some of those mutable squares. So I think you're going to feel a lot better and a lot clearer having Mercury go into a cardinal fire sign. Now in astrology, Mercury rules over communication, right? Intellect, learning, it's all about our mental capabilities. And it's often associated with the way that we think, but also how we reason, how we process information, and how we communicate our thoughts to other people. Mercury has a connection also to technology, travel, transportation, commerce. All of these things are under the realm of Mercury. And it's also believed to influence the way that we interact with other people and clearly express ourselves. Mercury can be about adopting new patterns or even adapting to new or changing situations. So there is some sense of things shifting when we're dealing with Mercury. But I think maybe it's about kind of this week getting on track with just changing our mind and being open to new possibilities. Now, in particular, Mercury has associations with both Gemini and Virgo. Both of these signs are known for their analytical capabilities, their communication skills, and people who have really strong Mercury placements have a tendency to be seen as intelligent, witty, chatty, right? They are very well articulated when they communicate. I think over the next few days, I would watch for where there are sudden impulses, because I don't think Aries gets enough credit for their intuition, these instincts that they have to move quickly, right? It's a Mars-based sign. So what you will see with Mercury leaving Pisces is like we're moving out of the dream state, we're moving out of kind of like hitting snooze and sleeping in, and we're just very quickly kind of getting our mind on board. Now, Aries in particular, because it's a cardinal sign, it wants to initiate things. So it wants to strike the match and start something. It's not consumed with finishing it. It just wants to start something. So I've been telling all of my clients, don't be so consumed with how something ends. Be more focused about how you're going to get started, right? And as you begin is how you will end. So if you are focused on getting started and being organized or being even more positive, optimistic, more active, right? Jupiter's in this sign. Likely you will find that you may enjoy some of these new things that you're beginning, and it may actually stick. Jupiter's in Aries, guys. This is a brand new cycle for Jupiter as well. I'm very excited to see the Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter all in the sign of Aries. In some ways, depending on where you have Aries in your chart, this is like a prime opportunity to go, I am starting fresh. It may be a challenge. It may require a lot of work. I may have to be very involved mentally or even physically to see this thing through. But I'm optimistic that I'm going to be able to kind of figure it out. And I'm really positive about what the future may hold. Look at where Aries is in your chart. Even if it's not your first house, it does not matter. I've seen some debate with this in the comments. I'm just going to say this over and over, as I've said to my astrology students. Houses do not equal signs, okay? Houses are where things happen in your life. The sign is how that energy is expressed. So Aries energy will be expressed the same regardless, okay? The house is going to show you where it's being expressed. So when we throw Mercury's mind, eventually the Sun's action, and Jupiter's optimism in one area of your chart, it's like a super lucky opportunity that if you seize that opportunity or these moments over these next few weeks to start something new, it may bring you some significant abundance. At the very least, it's going to bring you more maybe excitement. Maybe it's going to bring you much more confidence, right? Things are going to be also very adventurous with Jupiter being there. You might learn something new. So those of you guys who have been wanting to study a new subject, this can be a wonderful time. So if you're wanting to jump into learning more about law, Jupiter, or travel, if you're planning a trip, right? If you're wanting to learn more about self-defense, if you're wanting to learn more about spirituality, because Jupiter can be a sign that has connections with spirituality and philosophy, martial arts, anything in regards to like self-defense, all of these things are very Aries related things. I've heard some really interesting things from clients, people who are like, yeah, I'm taking up, you know, iron work, or I'm taking up archery, that can have associations more with Jupiter or Sag. But still, if you're doing it in like a physical sense, or maybe you're just wanting to learn more about healing yourself, because Chiron is in this particular sign as well. The list goes on. But here are some ways that you may see the sign, the planet Mercury behaving in the sign of Aries over these next few weeks. I will tell you that it is very dynamic. Okay, that's probably the big word that I would use. Very dynamic and very active. But we're going to notice that we're just experiencing more quick thinking. Okay, so with Mercury and Aries, there can be a strong urge to act fast and decisively. The downside is that the mind can be working so quickly and the mouth kind of pops off and there's not a sense of thinking about the repercussions. And, you know, the mind's moving so quick and processing information, it's just coming up with ideas in a very rapid and energetic manner. So there can be this sense of like motor brain not being able to slow down. Some of you guys may feel like you've had a couple cups of coffee and you haven't. So just be mindful of like stimulants and things, because we're already going to be firing on all cylinders with this ingress. We will notice in terms of communication that there can be much more assertiveness, okay? There's a fine line between being assertive and just kind of straight up being a jerk. But there's often a sense of confidence and assertiveness that comes with this placement. If you have it natally, you know what I'm talking about, right? Cardinal signs are very militant. I see this a lot with like Mercury in Aries and Mercury in Capricorn. Yeah, there is a sense of being more assertive. Communication, it is direct, it's bold. There is a sense of even being confrontational at times. So when I think of Aries, there can be a lot of, especially when the sun gets here, strong egos, lots of confidence, being very assertive, to the point where there can be this like bumping up against each other's chests and, you know, having this like very heated debate, right? So watch for that. We want to kind of, you know, be mindful that there is going to be some spiciness in the air in terms of communication. We're going to be more impulsive. There can be a tendency to act impulsively with this transit. You know, decisions may be made quickly, obviously without fully considering all of the options. And actions can be taken without much forethought. Now, on one hand, if you're tuning into this instinctual side of Aries, that's like, no, I know this is right, I'm going to say it, or I'm going to send that email, because especially with Jupiter being in this sign, a lot of people are going to be talking about integrity, right? The moral high ground, the right thing to do. You see somebody who is kind of being roughed up in public, or somebody who's being mistreated, you're going to step in and you're going to say, hey, what's going on here? Like, you know, leave them alone. And there can be, in some certain situations, a sense of saying things. It's a terrible term, but it's like word vomiting. It's like you just say something and then, you know, you realize like I probably said too much, or I probably shouldn't have said that. That can be happening throughout these next few weeks as well. So just be mindful that we can have a tendency to not be thinking too far into the future and just say what's on our mind, because being in a Mars-based sign, it's almost like the mind is on fire and we just have to get the words out. It's like burning. The good part of this transit is I think we're going to see opportunities to exercise much more independence. So with this placement, there can be a desire to think or act independently, because Aries is the self. There may be a resistance to following others' ideas or others' advice, and a preference for taking the lead in conversations or projects, especially because Aries wants to be the first, right? They want to be the first one. They want to be the fastest. They want to show up and, like, you know, conquer the situation. So it is great for being like, I'm making a to-do list. I'm getting it done. You know, I'm not letting other people get in the way. I'm putting these blinders on, and I'm just going to make sure that I'm really hitting this goal. But the downside is that it can be much more challenging seeing other people's perspectives. It can be much more challenging in a sense of also waiting, you know, to talk, or are you actually listening? I guess I just botched that. I should say that again. Are you just waiting to talk, or are you listening? I have an Aries moon, so I have a tendency to do that. Something that I noticed that I've done. When you're going back and forth with people, you may notice that they're just really impatient. They want to share. They're wanting to kind of like interject in the conversations. Just take time, try to consider other people's perspectives and other people's advice, and try to be inclusive and not just focused on, you know, your mindset or what you have to say. Really take time to stop and listen. And finally, we're going to notice a lot more, of a sense of like competitive behaviors. So there can be very strong competitive streaks with these transits that are going to be in Aries. It's not just Mercury, Mercury, the Sun, and Jupiter will all be there. So you're going to see a lot of dynamic actions and words. So we're going to hear that whether it comes to, you know, sporting events or people who are kind of dueling it out or duking it out or what have you, there's going to be much more competition going on between people. We're going to see that there's going to be a strong desire to win, to come out on top, or to be right. Debates or discussions may be approached with a very combative energy, and there can be a need to prove oneself intellectually, right? This is Mercury. So it's the mind, it's the mouth, it's words. It's things that we're writing, things that we're saying. It's not going to be duking it out like Mars and Aries would in a boxing match. So I do think we're going to see some very interesting opinion pieces. I do think we're going to see some people who are going to be challenging specific narratives of what's going on out in the world. So let's take a look at Mercury's trek. There's a couple specific transits that I would like to touch on. And just again, we're going to see this from March 19th through April 3rd. Mercury moves pretty quickly. One of the first transits that I want to start with actually is going to be right before Mercury changes signs, okay? So we're going to have Mercury at 29 degrees of Pisces, and the sun is moving very closely with Mercury. So there still is this sense of, can I believe what's actually happening? Is it true? Should I speak out? I'm afraid, or it's just very dreamy and whimsical and intuitive. Lots of room for conspiracy leading up to this transit. Nobody's really going to know what's really going on. So if you don't have your facts straight, probably better not saying anything at all until we get some movement into the sign of Aries. But 29 degrees of Pisces is like that final moment. And because Mercury represents communication and ideas and sharing, in the sign of Pisces, it's very secret. It is almost hidden. And we're going to see this right as the moon is getting ready to also move into Pisces. So there's some really interesting shifts happening where even when Mercury moves into Aries and the mind is coming online, the moon and the moon conjunction to Saturn and the sun still in close conjunction to Neptune, we're not going to feel like it's the right time to share anything yet, right? I do think that there is going to be lots more talk about conspiracies and whether or not they're true or false. I think that there is going to be this sense of being like, well, this information has been withheld or it's been hidden or it's been swept under the rug. And so once that information comes out, likely when we see like Mercury's ingress, maybe the moon coming into conjunction with Mercury and then Jupiter, information will fly, okay? And it'll be that people suddenly have strong opinions or that information is just being kind of shared or, word of mouth is just taking off like wildfire. But 29, the sextile, what is hidden, right? What has been suppressed, especially in regards to power or control, that sextile to Pluto in Capricorn. So far, and as I'm filming this on the 15th, it's been a bit of a weird week, right? The last couple days with the conjunctions and the building squares with Mars is this sense of people getting frustrated because they're getting agitated about having to keep having the same debates, or they're getting frustrated because there's not enough transparency or there's not enough openness, or people who are just kind of grinding the gears in terms of how they're communicating and going back and forth, debating about what is and is not true, okay? We're going to keep seeing this until we get planets into Aries. So the ingress is going to happen, but I would still watch, okay? It's going to happen very early morning on the 19th of March. We'll wake up in the morning and Mercury will be in Aries, and it's hitting that 0 degrees Aries point. So I talked to you guys about how the 0 degrees of the cardinal signs are the world axis points. One of the most potent degrees in astrology is 0 degrees of Aries because it is like a birth. It is like a, something getting shot out of a cannon, right? So it just arrives very quickly. I'm watching because I know when planets ingress over this degree, or if we have a new moon, or if we have an eclipse or something kind of moving through there, we definitely see world events happen, okay? So Mercury is going to be about transactions. So I'm thinking about credit transactions, digital things, ATMs, and I'm also wondering how it's going to impact communication, personal communication, right? So just kind of thinking out loud here. As soon as Mercury gets into Aries, it'll be a short period of time, but we're going to have it. There is a mutual reception between Mercury and Mars, okay? Don't use that term a lot, but essentially you have Mercury that's in a Mars sign. You have Mars that's in a mercurial sign. So even though they're still squaring each other, right, by about 3 degrees, they're agitated, they're both They both have something in common. They're both speaking the same language. So watch that until Mars goes into Cancer. I'll be doing a video on that soon. I'll talk to you guys about how we can review everything that's happened with all the Mars square Neptune stuff, and then we'll talk about Mars going into Cancer. But for the time being, both of them are equally agitated, okay? So there can be a sense of people finally speaking out and being like, why is there not enough transparency? Why are we not able to ask certain questions? I am thrilled to start hearing more of this on other platforms. I'm hearing from other YouTube creators. I'm hearing from podcasters. I'm hearing from news anchors. I'm hearing them say this same phrase. I was afraid to say something. I was afraid to speak out. I was afraid to get censored. I was afraid to ask questions. I was afraid to bring up facts because I was afraid I was going to get canceled. Very interesting. And I think we're going to see a lot more now of people going in Aries, more courage, right? More of a sense of, you know, now I'm going to say something. And so we're going to see this build over the next couple of weeks as we're getting into March, going into April. But they're speaking the same language, okay? So a couple hours later, this will be an interesting thing to watch also. As the moon is coming into Pisces, it's going to come into conjunction with Saturn. Lots of Saturn energy here, right? Moon Saturn. We've also got Pluto in a Saturn-based sign. Thankfully, we're no longer seeing the squares taking place with Saturn. But as we're coming into that dark moon, even though everybody wants to speak out and say something, we're not going to know the facts yet. It's going to be a really weird day, the 19th, really into like the 21st, because then we're going to see the moon cross Neptune and it's going to come into conjunction with the sun. So don't speak out or say anything until you know. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, oh my God, what's happening? And even when we have these, the equinox, when the sun goes into Aries, we've got the sun in a square to Mars, it's combative. We've got the moon conjunct Neptune, so people are gonna be checked out. They're gonna be out to lunch, sleeping, drugging, avoiding, you know, unsure. It does kind of suggest that for the next 3 months, until we get to the summer solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere, there's going to be a division in society, okay? And some of you guys are laughing, going, there already is one. But there's going to be a division in society. There's going to be two paths for the next 3 months. There's going to be the people who are the moon Neptune, who are going to be scared and afraid, hiding under the covers, not wanting to say anything, that are avoiding. And then there are going to be the Sun Mercury people that are going to go, screw this. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to make a change, or I'm going to say something, or I'm going to do something, or I'm going to get involved with what's going on locally, or I'm going to write a blog post, or I'm going to share something on social media. People will go in one of the two directions. I'm very confident about this. And the truth is that I feel, and I'll talk about this more in our, having a moment. Sorry, we'll talk about this more when we get to the solstice chart, or the equinox chart, about, you know, how to navigate that. So I don't want to get into it too much right now, but I would encourage you guys to pay attention to the to the sun's ingress into Aries, and the fact that we are going to have an exalted sun in conjunction to Mercury. Listen to those impulses. Listen to what you're feeling instinctually driven to say, write, share, right? If you need to move around, if you need to blow off steam, get active. It's a wonderful way to kind of navigate that. I'm also watching for when we come through the new moon, and just after the new moon, which will be at 0 degrees of Aries, the moon will come into conjunction with Mercury. This will be on the 21st. And when we have the moon in Aries, which is kind of like independent, instinctual, moving around, a little feisty, it needs to be out and doing things, it needs to express itself, come into conjunction with Mercury, many people are going to go, I have to start writing this thing. You know, I got to send this email. I got to make this statement. I have to make this plan. I got to go somewhere, and it's quick. So this is why the new moon, I think, is so wonderful, because it's going to like help all of us shoot into action. And in continuing on with the lunar transit into like the 22nd, Then we're going to see the moon come into contact with Chiron. We're working through healing wounds. But on the other side of that is going to be Jupiter. So in my mind, if you guys are into like election charts, I really like this as an election chart. So if you're like, I want to start a business, I want to launch a website, I want to start writing my book, I'm going to offer a new service, tinker with the time, obviously, but I'm a fan, right? Because we've got some really nice placements with Venus conjunct the North Node, Moon conjunct Jupiter, especially if you're writing something, publishing something that's very Jupiterian, planning trips, travel. This is a really great time to do all of this stuff. And equally, you can wait and do your new moon stuff here as well, okay? All right, so the real transits that I want to get to are going to actually start on the 26th. Okay, so this is going to be when Mercury comes into conjunction with Chiron. Okay, so we've got Mercury, the mind, the messenger, Chiron, which deals with healing a wound, and it can be literally for some people. I think of Chiron and Aries as cuts, concussions, headaches, sinus issues, things in regards to also burns, abrasions, you know, stuff like that. Aries rules the face and the head. And Chiron can mean about healing the self, like learning how to heal and tend to your own wounds, learning to communicate your wounds, right? Mercury, Chiron. And Mercury is going to be at a Gemini degree. So it's a wonderful time to like write a apology letter, to write a letter to somebody, you know, forgiving them. And whether you give it to them or you burn it, it doesn't matter. Wonderful day for getting the words out, especially considering the fact that the moon is going to be in Gemini and it's sextiling. If you need to apologize, if you need to sit down and have a heart-to-heart with somebody, if you need to forgive yourself, great day to do it. But I do think we're going to hear more about, because Gemini can be about documents, it can be about speech, it can be about social media, it can be about movement. I do think we're going to hear people talking or speaking out about some of these topics and where they've been afraid to share or say something because they had some kind of fear of being cast out or cast aside. Chiron does have that tendency in Aries to feel like the odd man out, and I look forward to seeing what happens throughout this particular period, because I think that it can be real eye-opening for a lot of people in terms of being able to share what your fears have been or what your wounds or your hang-ups have been. You never know how that may help other people heal from their own issues who may have also had similar problems health-wise or even emotionally. So do share with others your healing techniques. Watch communication this day though. So communication can be a thing. There can be some difficult conversations, some hurt feelings, and some rough words. 2 days later, we're going to see Mercury in conjunction to Jupiter. And I'm kind of like, because, you know, traditionally, we like to see Mercury associated with, you know, really strong Virgo or even, you know, Gemini aspects. When you take Mercury and throw it into a fire sign, it's just not going to stop talking. And when it's in conjunction to Jupiter, it can have a tendency to embellish, to make things bigger than what they really are. It can have a tendency to be very intellectual, but also a little egotistic with this conjunction. It's a I know best, I know better, I'm gonna show you. And it can be great for inspiring other people. And this is where I think it's still picking up some of the energy from the conjunction with Chiron, where it's like, this is what I've learned and this is what I wanna tell other people. Use it for motivation. Great day to be like listening to motivational speakers. Great day to really be thinking about how to motivate yourself, right? And Mercury conjunct Jupiter can be good news. I don't want to downplay this. For some people, it might be that you get that amazing feedback, or you get a 5-star review, or somebody, you know, comments on something that you created or a post that you made, and it gets a lot of visibility, or there's a lot of people talking about something. Keep in mind, okay, guys, when the sun is in Aries, we are looking at Mars. And so what's fascinating is that at the same time, we're going to see the moon come into Cancer and come into a conjunction with Mars. By sign, they're squaring each other. So Moon Mars in general is going to be moody. It is going to be about some kind of conflict going on the home front or within our homes or our homeland. There can also be a sense of talk of going to war, people being combative, being protective. And guess what? Mars is not happy in Cancer. It is definitely going to be reactionary. I guess that's the best way to put it. And so I have a feeling that we're going to hear a lot of people who are going to be very reactionary and having a lot to say about whether or not they feel safe at home, within their homes, within their family. I do think we're going to hear more like warmongering that's going to be going on and trying to kind of stir up the masses and getting people, you know, flustered about something that's happening and making them feel like they need to protect themselves. So it is some difficult energies going on there. Just be mindful that we're going to be much more emotionally reactionary with Mars in Cancer. And thankfully we have some trines to Saturn, so it is a lot of cooling the jets, staying grounded, staying focused, but there can be some emotional reactions that can come up. Equally, this can be just on the heels of the Mercury Chiron conjunction. So you have a difficult conversation with somebody, it might take a few days and then it becomes, you know, like a total mess in terms of people going, I've been thinking about what you said, and you know. For those of you guys who are Jupiter ruled charts, so if you're like a Sag or a Pisces rising, this can materialize as getting information about your career or maybe even about a relationship, having an insightful conversation, making sense of something, having a download. But for the rest of us, it may be still some challenging conversations that we're having. And it can also be about global events because Jupiter is a sign that is about everyone. It is about foreign things. So we might hear more about military mobilization happening in other countries, maybe not necessarily our country, but with the squares to the moon and Mars, I'm wondering, like, are we somehow, I say we, I'm an American, are we or other countries somehow getting lassoed into this and being expected to also be in support or, you know, be involved somehow in some kind of like proxy war, right? I definitely think that that's very possible. I think that's already happening personally, but I'm curious to see what happens with these particular transits. Okay, so we're going to go to March 30th, and this is when we're going to see Mercury coming into conjunction with Vesta. Okay, show my screen brush. There we go. So Mercury in Aries, taking action, Vesta about what we're nurturing, caring for, what we're really, you know, paying attention to. Vesta is all about keeping the flame going, keeping the flame alive. So I wonder, is it going to be about heat and electricity or gas? Is it going to be our ability to feel like we have support and you know, security from armed forces? Possibly that could be happening. But whenever we're dealing with Vesta, it's like, what are we taking care of, right? And in the sign of Aries are we doing what's best in our best interest? Are we looking out for our best interest? Are we making sure that we're protecting and taking care of our bodies? Are we making sure that we have the fuel and everything that we need, right? At 22 degrees, it's going to be about Capricorn. So it's going to be about big business. I'm looking at big business. I'm wondering if it's going to be about gas and gas companies, even though that has nothing to do, Mercury has nothing to do with gas. I'm feeling like it's going to be about like heat and energy and how we're navigating some of these things. So that might be something else that pops up. And then finally, we're going to see Mercury come into a square with Pluto. And Mercury is going to hang out at that 29 degree point. Okay, so that'll be on the 3rd. And as Mercury is coming into the 27, 28, 29 degrees, Mercury is in conjunction to Aries. I don't have this on my software, but Aries is very similar to Pluto. She represents like the female side of war and anger, frustration, things that are about purging. And she's like a female combination of like Mars and Pluto. So I'm interested to see how Mercury comes into conjunction with like this planet, and how we're just going to see that there's going to be more talk of war, hostility, anger, frustration. And then Mercury is going to square Pluto. That's another day to watch, the 3rd, okay? And by that time, you know, Pluto has gone into Aquarius. So what we're going to see is literally within the ingress, Mercury square Pluto is an obsessive, fixated mind. Mercury in the sign of Taurus, banking, resources, food, stability. And we're going to be possibly talking about feeling threatened about financial situations, financial institutions, whether or not we have control over things. And look at this stellium of planets in Taurus, Mercury in Taurus. You know, I believe in what I physically see. I believe in what I have. I communicate in a logical, tangible way. So I think a lot of people are going to be talking about money. I think a lot of people are going to be talking about also inflation, because Mercury is conjunct the North Node. We've got Venus, Uranus that are still in contact with each other. So there will be other turbulence and other things that are going on throughout the week that's also aiding this. I feel like Pluto is control, and Pluto in Aquarius is going to be about technology. And every single planet that hits the North Node, Venus conjunct the North Node in this week, is going to be about, if you physically value it, you need to hold it, whether it's food, money, or resources. Mercury conjunct the North Node. I know exactly how I'm going to be able to make purchases. I know exactly how I'm going to be able to make transactions. Taurus wants us to simplify, right? So if you can't use a debit card, you need to have cash or something else that you can use to trade. When we see Jupiter come into contact with the North Node, which we're going to see later in the spring going into the summer, it's about physical growth, right? And learning more about diversifying our assets, and maybe not relying purely on, you know, numbers in a bank account. We're learning how to grow our own food. We're learning about other trade opportunities. We're learning also about other currencies. So the point is each and every one of these planets will be squaring off with Pluto. So we're going to see that all of the breakdown and destruction and change and transformation on a societal level, especially in regards to control, political control, Pluto and Aquarius, over our resources, right? Who's telling us how we can and cannot spend our money? Who's telling us how much money we have access to? Who's telling us what we can and cannot buy? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just reading the astrology here. And a lot of the things that I've been saying to you guys sounds crazy, but you're going to get to some of these transits and you're going to go, I think maybe there's something to this. So Mercury's ingress into Taurus, touching on the North Node, may literally be taking stock. Okay, well, you know, I have how many bags of pasta, I have how much, you know, dog food, I have how much in, you know, $20 bills, I have how much in gold coins, labeling, going through things as a result of the square to Pluto, of people telling you what you can and cannot do. Now, whether it's the Mercury-Pluto square, or when Mercury comes into contact with Uranus, you are going to see issues getting money off of exchanges. You are going to see money that is going to be difficult or hard to physically access. Don't take my word for it. I've been doing some research on some of this stuff. Let's just say that the actual physical amount of dollar bills, coins, what have you, that's in circulation versus how much money is supposedly floating around within the system. And I'm not talking about just physical, but I'm talking about, you know, other forms of money, digital money, whatever. Like, if everybody were to go and take money out of the banks, there would not be enough physical money to be distributed. Does that make sense? So what we're going to learn with these conjunctions and the squares to Pluto is like, I got to have something, right? So this is where I think the Mercury in Aries is about learning and educating yourself. And Mercury comes into conjunction, you know, with the sun, and it's coming into conjunction with Jupiter. Take a look at what's going on outside of your neighborhood, outside of your state, outside of your country. Look at what's going on around the world globally. Where are other people taking action in regards to their physical resources? Mark my words. You guys do not want to wait until the eclipse that's going to come on, I think, May the 5th, when we see a Scorpio lunar eclipse that is going to make an opposition to Uranus. This will be another floor kind of dropping out financial eclipse, where we are going to realize that we haven't been told everything, that, you know, I am not somebody who specializes in finances, but you don't need me to tell you. You probably share the same belief system. Like, there's something going on beyond just the inflation. People are talking about the banking collapses. People are talking about also the potential for, you know, a recession. I think that some of the transits are indicating that some of the financial stuff that is coming is huge, huge. So be forewarned. Use some of these transits to start educating yourself and getting active, so you're not waiting until you're having Mercury-Pluto squares and you go, oh my God, do I have cash? Do I have food? And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm just letting you guys know. And then we'll talk about Mercury going into Taurus in a couple weeks' time. But for right now, get active. Here's some themes to watch, okay, throughout these transits. Archetypally, Aries is seen as like a warrior, a pioneer, a trailblazer, initiators, okay? So I think about entrepreneurs when I think of Mercury and Aries. I think about athletes. I think about independent journalists. I think about independent creators, because Mercury's a mouthpiece, okay? So a lot of the content creators and people you're watching have some very strong Mercury aspects in their chart, because we're here to be able to literally talk for a living, relay information, decipher things, and feed it back to you guys through a camera. Ways to work with this energy, because Aries is a Mars sign and it is very active, just really think about walking the walk, talking the talk, okay? Mercury in Aries is words in action. It's literally saying, I'm gonna do this, and doing it. Making sure you follow up on it. Create a to-do list, that's the best thing you can do. Maybe it's my Aries moon, but I have a never-ending to-do list. I always have one running, and once I finish something, I cross it off, and I'm always adding things to my to-do list. So when I have free time, I'm like, I'm getting this stuff done. And it feels good to have a very productive day where I'm like, look at how many things I got done on my to-do list. And I've really seen this benefit my workflow and also just my productivity, especially since Jupiter has been in Aries. But words in action. Something else I would recommend is morning motivation, okay? So if you want to get up and listen to a particular motivational speaker, I really recommend doing this. Start your day with something that's going to get you positive, open-minded, optimistic, you know, enthusiastic about going and getting stuff done and really feeling like you're able to obtain or reach some of your goals. Personally, I really like listening to like people who have strong Aries placements. I love Gary Vee. He may be somebody who is a little too much for other people, but I love him. He's got a number of Aries signatures in his chart. But I like that he's just like, don't screw around, don't make excuses, just do it. It's not too late, get going, right? That's what I really love about him. And I love that he also appeals to a wide audience in terms of not just gender, but age. And I love watching him talk to like younger people and being like, so you're 20, so what? Like, you still have time to make mistakes, you'll figure it out. And I equally love watching him talk to people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, being like, it's not too late, you can still figure it out, you know, start something, even if you just have to start something small, just keep hitting it until you hit that bullseye. Tony Robbins, oddly enough, his chart's kind of similar to mine, like Libra rising, Aries moon. But I like listening to Tony Robbins. I like the fact that both of these individuals, and they just appeal more to my preferences, maybe not yours, have this tough love, like pick yourself up by the bootstraps, get it together, get going, make your bed, you know, do your thing type of vibe. I happen to be somebody who likes Peterson, what's his name? I can't even remember his first name, but I like listening to him. People think he's controversial. Maybe it's just me. As I get older, I find that I'm a little bit more conservative, but I really like listening to Peterson. I feel like he has a lot of valuable advice. I'm probably gonna get some criticism for this, so whatever, I don't even care. But I like listening to him talk about really showing up, right? And like having integrity and doing the right thing. And like, he might have a much more religious background, but I have really taken a liking to listening to Peterson in recent years. But you might have somebody else that you like, recommend them. I'd love to hear, leave their information down below. Learn about health, fitness, personal rights, legal rights, all of these things. You know, I anticipate that some of the decisions that are going to be made and some of the statements or some of the proposed legal or financial decisions that are going to be made are going to have a lot of people getting on the internet and wanting to learn about their personal rights, the Constitution, and the list goes on. So I recommend, if you want to learn more about your personal rights and your rights when it comes to your resources, when it comes to travel, when it comes to protecting yourself, I really advise you guys to get on the internet, start looking into these things. There's a reason why I feel like they're not teaching this stuff in school anymore. It's like having conversations with younger people. They don't do that. Maybe I'm like dating myself, maybe I'm getting old, but like I remember being in social studies and having to read the Constitution and learn about the founding fathers and how America started and like what they sacrificed so I could have freedom in this country. I remember saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I remember doing these things. We're not doing this anymore. And like while America has evolved and we've become very diverse and there's like a multitude of different cultures and things here, at the end of the day, that's really what sets us apart and makes us different, is the fact that we have these freedoms that many other countries do not have. Now, some of you guys may argue with me and say, well, America's not really free. You think it's a democracy. It's not. And I agree with some of you guys, I do. But unless people are really saying, I know my rights, they will not be trespassed on. I know what, you can and cannot do. That includes people who are dealing with the law, right? We're going to see a lot more about people learning more about the law and being able to kind of better defend themselves. So without causing too much of a ruckus, I recommend, if any of those things interest you, especially fitness too. That's like the other thing, is if you guys are like, I want to get a fitness app, I want to start tracking how much I'm walking, all that stuff, do those things throughout this transit. And get organized and focus on staying on track. Don't worry about the end, okay? We'll worry about that when we get into Virgo season. That's when we can kind of size things up in the fall and go like, how are we doing? Are we on track? You can criticize yourselves then. We don't need to do it right now. Embrace being bold and direct, okay? In a non-jerk way. All right, I know it's hard for some of us with the Jupiter transits. There is like a sense of us just really wanting to teach some people. I find myself in that position all the time. But I also remind myself that the people who want to listen, the people who want to learn, the people who want to ask for help, they're going to ask for it. I don't have to just give it to them, right? Because not everybody's going to be receptive to some of the messages or some of the recommendations. Stimulate your mind with new ideas. Be curious. Get out there and read a new book, right? Maybe watch a different show. Maybe learn a new language. Do things that are going to be fresh and brand new. Take time, to really focus on what your goals are, because Aries is about setting those goals and being able to reach them. And then take action on those ideas. Don't just let them sit there on your desk or on the fridge. Hold yourself accountable and be like, I'm getting up every morning. I'm doing this thing. I have this routine. Even if it takes you just 15 minutes a day, you'll be surprised how much positive impact that will have on everything else that you do for the rest of the day, because you're going to get into the habit of doing the same thing over and over. Cultivate, flexibility and being open to developing new qualities. That's something else that comes with Aries. Working with this energy, practicing mindfulness, staying open, being receptive to new ideas, and being willing to adapt or change course if needed, and embrace creative thinking, because after all, Jupiter is there. It's going to really encourage us, I think, to be more creative in some of our pursuits. To do that, we might have to brainstorm, right? We might have to throw some ideas at the wall and see what sticks. We're still working on new ways of expressing some of our thoughts and our ideas. We'll edit it and make sure it sounds pretty and feels good as we're getting into like Mercury and Taurus and Mercury and Gemini. But for right now, I recommend just getting started, okay? So let me take you guys through the 12 signs, and I will talk to you about how this is going to be impacting all of you guys throughout this transit for the next few weeks ahead. Can you guys tell that Mercury is in a square with Mars conjunct Neptune? I feel like I've been stumbling on my words all week. Okay. And as always, guys, I am a Western astrologer, okay? So I practice tropical astrology. I'm not a Vedic astrologer. I've had some chuckles recently listening to some people going, how does this work if this isn't Vedic astrology? I am a Western astrologer, but I practice with Vedic techniques. So I go based off of the various decans, and I work with degree astrology. So that's why it's kind of similar to some of those predictions. But I am a Western astrologer. Listen for your rising sign, okay? That's what I recommend. And because Aries is going to go from 0 to 29 of Aries, Mercury is going to go from 0 to 29 of Aries, you are going to be able to listen to your whole rising sign prediction, okay? So listen to your rising sign, then listen to your sun sign, then listen to your moon sign. And Aries, Gemini, and Virgo risings, you guys are going to be feeling this the most. All right. Okay, so let's start with Aries and Aries rising. And let me take this back. Probably should have done that sooner, but that's okay. There we go. So for my Aries and Aries rising, you have Mercury entering into your sign. So you're going to have to slow down a little bit, right? You're going to have to just take a breather, take a breath before you say anything. Maybe you're going to feel like just there's a sense of being really focused on sharing your ideas with people. In your particular chart, if you're an Aries rising, Mercury rules your 3rd and also your 6th. So I could see this as you being very hyper-focused on communicating, expressing yourself. It can also be running around, getting errands done, lots of emails, phone calls, you know, just busy in terms of communication, right? Especially if it's in your 1st house and the sun is there as well. Mercury has connections to your 6th also. So I feel like this can be about you being like, I need to run to the post office. I need to get my car worked on. I need to, you know, get stuff checked off my to-do list. You may feel like there is more of a need to pay attention to your health because you've got your 6th house lord going through your 1st. Touch wood, but you are more accident prone here. And I'm not just saying it because of the Mercury transit. I'm actually saying it also because of the Sun square Mars, that there can be a sense of you being like, I have all this stuff I want to get done around the house or this or that. And like, there is a sense of if you're rushing, okay, you're going to be more accident prone, and or you're also just going to really agitate some people. So it can be people who you're communicating with. It can be siblings. It can be neighbors. So just be mindful of that, because I see, you know, your 3rd and your 6th house lord getting activated. Maybe it's you saying, hey, I'm going to go over there and tell the neighbors stop parking on, you know, like on our driveway. Or I'm going to call my sister and complain about, you know, something that's going on at work. I could see some of that stuff happening this week. Stay focused on yourself, right? Stay focused on your ideas. Take a breath if you're getting a little worked up this week with some of these transits. And for you, my Aries, it's such a great time to be walking the walk and talking the talk. If you're like, that's it, I'm making this change, I'm going to get all this stuff done, I'm going to be better about working out, walking, right? 3rd house can be walking around the neighborhood. You may just need to take a stroll to kind of like burn off some steam. Let's see what the cards have to say for you. Ooh, that's a great start. 9 of Cups, getting what you want. And I'm wondering if this is like Mercury coming into conjunction with Jupiter, where it's like, I want this, I'm thinking about this, I'm speaking this into reality, like good things are happening to me, or I'm gonna get the job, whatever it is, right? It's getting what you want, feeling very positive and optimistic, and feeling fulfilled because something has been granted, all right? Hey, I'm not gonna complain. That's a great card to get. So let me know what happens with that, Aries. All right, so now we have got the Taurus and Taurus rising. What's going on, Taurus? So you're going to have Mercury moving through Aries. It's going to move through your natal 12th house. Mercury has connections to your 5th house of romance, creativity, children, joy, having fun, or hobbies. It also has connections to your 2nd house of money and resources. So here's the thing. you have a loaded 12th house right now. I think it was like this last week, I had a ton of Taurus risings, and like the general overall consensus was, this is difficult energy. Why are things ending? I'm feeling alone. I'm kind of squirrely, right? You guys have a ton of planets right now in your 12th house if you're a Taurus rising. This is the space where you want to make peace with the quiet. You want to make peace with what's wrapping up. And also like try to remain positive and optimistic. Some of you guys need to go to church, right? And connect to a higher power. 12th house can be about churches or spiritual centers. Some of you guys need to be alone in nature. Some of you guys are opting to be working out like by yourself in a gym, and like that's your alone time, and like that's your, you know, come to Jesus period throughout the day. Regardless, when Mercury's in the 12th house, we can feel like we need to have communications with our higher self. We need that connection. Dreams can be very prominent. Some of you guys may be planning travel or foreign travel, going to retreat center, spiritual center. Some of you guys are going to benefit by working behind the scenes, especially if you're very talented in a creative sense. I could see some of you guys like editing things, like creating things, designing things. If you work with like photography or videos, this is wonderful for that because there's some money-making opportunities. Some of you guys may be feeling a little concerned or squirrely about resources, being like, what am I going to do? Because, you know, Mercury rules your second house. My advice is focus on how you can generate income. Focus on what you do physically have for security. Know that this is the period right before your birthday, so things get a little weird, and there is a sense of clearing things out. But Aries in the 12th house is, what am I letting go of? What isn't serving me? Where am I focusing on manifestation before things physically manifest and kind of come into fruition once it gets closer to Taurus season? Some of you guys may also just feel inspired where you want to be writing or creating, like I said, behind the scenes. And you can be feeling like you're up all night working on something, or maybe even deciding that you want to reorganize, redecorate, bring some kind of design aspect, maybe even into your bedroom. Okay, so that's the other way that I could look at that. I have a feeling though that you guys are just kind of like, yeah, the times are changing. I feel like the shift is coming and I need an outlet for some of this energy. Oh. Three of Swords. I mean, here's the thing. You do have Pluto on your midheaven. You do have the squares to the nodes. There's no doubt there is a really big change coming in your life. Whether it's quitting a job, making a job change, if it's making a relationship change, a change in your status, it's like, you know, you got the god of death and transformation right at the top part of your chart. So really, I think for some of you guys, it might be about mourning, knowing that you're going from one phase to the next and that you're having to kind of come to terms with some of these shifts that are happening. Yes, the 12th house can have a sense of sadness. It can, because it's a house that's very similar to like Pisces, Neptune energy, where we sometimes mourn or we let go or we say goodbye or we end cycles. So Three of Swords, right? It can be saying like, you know, I'm feeling hurt about the fact that something's ending or something that somebody said. I'm not dealing with it very well. Sharing those feelings is the key. And I think that with Mercury in close aspect to Jupiter and Chiron, it's like, it's okay to feel some of those feelings and to mourn or feel sad about losing something. But it's not allowing those feelings or those emotions to, you know, be harbored in the body, right? So I'm sending you guys healing. I know that's a difficult card. Let me know how that goes because I'm curious how that relates to what's going on in your life right now. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. Obviously, this is important for you, Gems, because Mercury rules your first house of the body, your fourth house of the home and the self. And we've got Mercury that will be moving into the sign of Aries in your natal 11th house. I mean, where Mercury goes, it's you, right? So you're going to be in the midst of mixers and parties and networking events. And, you know, maybe you're the one starting a group or a club. Maybe you're the one who's inviting people over. Mercury coming into contact with Jupiter does seem to be a positive indication that you're having good times with other people. If you're single, you might meet somebody at a party. A friend might want to set you up with someone. If you're partnered, it might mean that you and a partner are just spending more time with others and, you know, celebrating something. Going to other people's places, maybe even having home, you know, parties at home or inviting friends over to come and stay and visit. These are the kinds of things that I'm seeing in your chart. Good news coming from friends. I mean, it might be that, you know, people are telling you, oh, we're getting married, we're engaged, we're having a baby. That could be the other way that we look at it. And just really enjoying actively being involved in your social life again and getting back out there and feeling like you can connect with other people. Being that it has the connection to your 4th house, it makes me feel like there is a sense of also seeing some friends as family. So it doesn't always have to be about your physical blood relatives. It can be like, you know, it's my best friend, but she's like my sister. Maybe there's a sense of like introducing people. Some of you guys may be introducing friends to partners or vice versa. Partners are like, hey, my friend's having a party. You know, I want to introduce you to them. We're going to go over to their house and have dinner. That kind of stuff can be happening. And at least Mercury is in positive aspect. If you're a Gemini rising, it's going to be sextiling your ascendant. So you're feeling chatty and open and like really excited. Maybe there's like a new group of friends that you're spending time with that you're just kind of getting to know and sharing a lot about yourself and potentially even a partner. Let's take a look. 2 of Wands. Yeah, I think that I'll go as far as saying this. If whether you're in a relationship or not, there is a sense of like wanting to get out there and meet people and seeing like who or what else is out there. So I think it's great if you're wanting to join groups, if you're wanting to join like athletic clubs, if you're wanting to join like team sports and things like that. The 2 of Wands talks about what is possible, what's out there, going and doing your research and seeing who else you can connect with and how you can find new ways to get active. Following up on your goals too. So if your goal is, hey, I want to find, you know, people who I can go hiking with, or I want to find people who I can kind of network with for business, you're going to be able to find them. It's just a matter of getting out there and doing your research. Okay. Good luck, my Gemini. For Cancer and Cancer rising, we have got Mercury moving into the 10th house. Which is all going to be about career and giving presentations and speaking publicly. That seems to be a big focus with the 10th house. Now, Mercury rules your natal 12th house. It also rules your natal 3rd house. For starters, Jupiter, Sun, Mercury in the 10th house is like very visible, right? There is a sense of maybe taking some of what you've been working on behind the scenes and making it public. Perhaps it's also about getting ready to announce that you're launching a business, you're starting a new job, you've got a new website. If you're somebody who is either needing to like connect with a new group of people, or maybe you're leading a team, maybe you have a new business, wonderful time for like doing promotions or for running ads or for just putting yourself out there and being visible. Fun fact, the 12th house, even though it's more like hidden and subconscious, it can be about the business that you do with people in other places. So if you have like a business that's online, it can be about connecting with people that might be in other countries and being able to really kind of optimize the way that you're transacting and doing business. So you might be looking at, well, is there like a particular processor I can be getting that's going to allow me to sell or distribute anywhere. And you might find that business is coming from other places. The connection to the 3rd makes me think that as well. So I'm wondering, like, what are you doing to really get yourself out there? Might be a time to chat with somebody about like SEO options, or whether or not, you know, you can work with somebody who really can get your business out there and get seen. Communication documents, professional documents and things at work, possibly even feeling like you need to have a conversation with a boss, a sibling, or a parent, and really highlighting the need to just put something out there. If you're looking for work, you're telling people, hey, I'm looking for a job. Is anybody, you know, do you know anybody who's hiring? Or maybe you're going to like a headhunter and being like, I'm looking for a position. Can you place me? Really great time for visibility in your career. I anticipate the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction is like getting good news about potentially getting a job or starting a new schedule. And maybe it's like feeling like your dreams are coming true, or that you've been really manifesting and focusing on something new arriving. Ah, I love it. Two of Cups. I think this is what I'm seeing. It's basically like somebody else saying, like, do you want to work together? Do you want the position? You know, it's yours. Can I offer you a service? This is about partnership. This is also a card that's about relationships, okay? So the 10th house can be your status in general. I'm not seeing a lot of aspects between your 7th house lord. Yes, now we have, you know, Saturn in your 9th house. You're focusing on philosophy or your belief system, education, travel. It is in a trine to Mars on your ascendant. So you're feeling like, okay, I got to get moving. And whether you're traveling or you're going back to school, there is a sense of feeling like more motivated to want to get things done and really focusing on what you believe in. And so maybe you're just jumping into something new and working for someone or starting out a business and you don't know what to expect, but it looks like you're going to have the support of other people. Okay, good luck, my Cancers. We've got Leo and Leo rising. And for you guys, Mercury is entering into the sign of Aries, into your natal 9th house. Mercury rules your 11th house of friends, goals, and associations. It also deals with money and resources. Equally, the 11th house deals with the money that you make from your business. So the 11th house is not purely just about friends and parties. It can be a very financial house. So watching that get linked up with your 2nd house lord does make me feel like some of you guys are really focusing on advertising campaigns. Some of you guys are going to be teaching and looking to teach for money. Some of you guys are spending money on traveling with friends. Mercury in the 9th house is an interesting one because it does make me feel like there's a sense of wanting to really talk about more philosophical topics. Mentors, teachers, gurus, especially with the conjunction to Jupiter, I feel like there can be a sense of purchasing a ticket. Maybe you're buying a course, maybe you're following a new teacher or somebody who is, they have something in terms of like a belief system that you want to follow, right? And Aries is like your new personal beliefs. Mercury being connected to friends. I mean, there can be a sense of planning a trip with friends, planning to go and visit a friend, talking more about some of your financial goals and really trying to be positive and optimistic about planning for some of these potential trips or obtaining some of these financial goals. It's in a fire sign, so it's going to make positive aspects to Leo, Sun, Moon, or risings. But in particular, I think this does make me feel like you have a lot of support from friends or a mentor or a teacher that's like really telling you like, hey, anything is possible. And you may feel like just your belief system or just how you look at life in general really opens up as a result of travel or maybe a conversation that you have with a friend, okay? Let's take a look. Wonderful time for those of you guys who are like applying to schools or colleges, or you're getting ready to try to publish a book, or you're starting a campaign. All of these things are going to be really wonderful for you. The card that I get is the 5 of Swords. I'm wondering if this is more the Mercury Chiron aspect of being like, do I say something? Do I not say something? You know, even though there's trines that are taking place to your ascendant, you are going to see some friction with Mars. And I feel like there can be a sense of like people speaking too boldly with this transit, or possibly like if you're traveling, there's like some hiccups and like maybe you say something to a friend and they take it the wrong way, or there's some back and forth about, you know, a belief system and you're having this debate with somebody who may be a friend. And you guys are not seeing eye to eye about something. You want to watch for cultural debates, religious debates. This can definitely happen with all the planets in the 9th house, and you may not share the same perspective, and somebody might get their feelings hurt. There may be a sense of somebody being like, I'm not even having this conversation with you. You don't understand. You're not listening. And they can be a little bit argumentative. So watch for that, because the Five of Swords definitely deals with asking you to like pick your battles, right? Being careful about what you say. In this case, the Mercury in Aries is like, really think about it before you make a comment or a statement that you may have a difficult time walking back, because some people may not want to actually discuss it. They can get angry or argumentative or defensive, okay? Good luck, Leo. For Virgo and Virgo rising, you have got Mercury going through Aries. It's going to be going through your natal 8th house. And this is important because Mercury is your chart lord. So where Mercury goes, it's all about you. And Mercury rules your 1st house of the body. It also rules the 10th house of career. Okay, so you got Mercury going in the 8th house. I want you guys to think of the 8th house as when planets enter into that house, it's like you're entering Hades' gates. Okay, I know that sounds weird, but there's always a change, a transformation, going to the underworld, coming back up when planets go into the 9th house. When Mercury goes into the 8th house, you're going to talk about more taboo subjects. There can be sexy talk, there could be tax talk, there could be inheritance talk, there can be debt talk, right? Any of these things in terms of the entanglements that you have with other people. Now, it's going to make some interesting aspects. The conjunction to Chiron may bring up some issues in regards to wounding, the need to be more open and transparent, and feeling a little less sensitive, or feeling a little less defensive. As Mercury is coming into contact with Jupiter, there can be some difficult or sensitive conversations about money and taxes, or debt and resources with another person. There can be a lot of like, okay, we got to talk about our credit score, or how much debt do you have, or did you pay this on time? These conversations may come up, and you may find that it's definitely between you and another person. So it's you and a romantic partner, you and a client, you and a business, collaboration. Something's going on here that you're needing to kind of hash out who paid what, who owes who what. Now, the conjunction to Jupiter seems to be symbolic that there's going to be an agreement. So you guys will be in an agreement about how you're going to handle it. So if it's your tax person who says, hey, everything's going to be fine, just, sign this, send this off, you're good. That may be, it may be that simple. But it may also mean that you and another person have a common understanding that there is a problem and that you guys are not on the same page in terms of intimacy, sexual stuff, or maybe even your joint resources. Because there's this connection also to the 10th house, it can be a time where you're negotiating something. So you can be negotiating a salary, a raise, you're negotiating a bonus, maybe you're negotiating some of your terms. And Jupiter rules the 4th house. So you may be going back and negotiating if you're going to take a job, and you're looking at your overhead costs for where you're living, and maybe you're wanting to relocate for work, and you're like, okay, would you guys pay to move me to take this job, or vice versa? There could be something like that. Definitely talking to family members about insurance related things or estate related things. Those can come up as well. But I have a feeling with Jupiter going into your 9th house, you may be debating whether or not you're going to get married. So you and a partner are talking about how you're going to pay for it. You may be debating whether or not you're going to make a large move or a relocation, and you're looking at, well, can I afford it? What's it going to cost? The card that I get is the 4 of Wands, which is interesting because this is a marriage card. 4 of Wands is celebrations, temporary spaces, reasons to be joyful. I wonder if some of you guys are going into more serious kind of relationship territory where you're now realizing, I know what I want in a relationship. I know where my wounds are. I've worked through them. I've worked through the self-esteem issues, the intimacy issues, the financial issues, and like now I'm really ready to kind of show up, and I want somebody who's an equal. So you may be finding that you're moving into relationship territory where you're merging with another person, 8th house. So it might mean that you meet somebody who can be long-term relationship potential. Romantic, client, business are all possible because you have Saturn in the 7th house. But if you are moving to the next step with somebody, you guys are having to talk about how do we make these things happen? How do we afford getting a mortgage for a house? How do we afford, you know, getting married? How do we buy this new car? And you're talking about all of the 8th house things that can be uncomfortable, but it's worth doing because it looks like it's for an overall really positive cause, okay? Good luck, my Virgos. For Libra and Libra rising, you are going to have Mercury going into Aries. It's going to be going into your natal 7th house of relationships and other people. So Mercury rules your 7th house. Excuse me, Mercury rules your 12th house, as well as your 9th house. And when Mercury's in the 7th, there's lots of back and forth you're having with other people. The 7th house is your marketplace. So if you have a business that's client-based or there's a lot of back and forth transactions, communications with other people, you may notice that it's just busier than usual. A lot of needing to communicate and talking to partners. So if you're in a committed relationship, there's a lot of back and forth and communicating with them. Obviously, this is the opposite energy as you. So with the Sun and Mercury and Jupiter in the 7th house, you're going to have partners, if you're in a relationship, that are going to be like, I'm doing this. This is what I think. This is my goal. Don't stop me. If you're not in a relationship, you may just find that there's just people who are just kind of coming into your life being like, hey, what's up? What do you think? Do you want to talk? You know, do you want to work together? Let's collaborate. Let's get on a call. Let me take you out to dinner. Just quick communication coming from other people. And I think that this is especially true because Mercury is inching its way into conjunction with Jupiter, which rules the 3rd house. So you may have people saying, I'll come visit you, let's go on a trip, or hey, do you want to be on my podcast? I want to interview you. Can I get a statement? Let's work together on something. So in that sense, it's great for communication. Let other people take the lead. You know, I would just say practice like letting other people kind of approach you, and you'd be surprised how many opportunities you may have in a business or in a relationship sense. There could be trips with siblings. There can be more communication with relatives. That can be happening here as well. But because Mercury rules the 9th house of travel, it may stimulate talking about going on a trip. And so you're discussing what the trip would be like, where you're going to go, what you're going to do, what the plans are, how you're going to get there. And equally, especially if it's like a foreign trip, you might be discussing, you know, how you're going to get around, rentals, things like that. You may also be talking about starting a new program, thinking about learning something or teaching a class. The connection to the 12th house is it may be more hidden. It might be more about diving deep into symbols or dreams or spirituality. I could also see it as working with another person to help you write something, write a book, tell a story, launch something. So if you're looking for like a new counselor, a therapist, if you're looking for somebody to help you edit a book or actually help bring a book, you know, to fruition, people who can help you communicate and express yourself better. I guess that's what you're going to be looking for throughout this next couple of weeks. Really great time to talk to a therapist or a counselor because Mercury has that connection to your 12th house to just work things out and clearing the air in some relationships. That may be happening as well. See what the cards say for you. Yeah, I thought so. 8 of Swords. If you have been in a situation where you've been wanting to have a conversation with someone, or maybe you have been icing somebody out and you haven't been communicating, and maybe you've been overwhelmed and you need to get back to them, but you haven't known how to, this may come up. 8 of Swords talks about being like, I'm stuck, I don't know what to say, I don't know how to say anything. People can put you on the spot with this transit, Libra, okay? So with all these planets in the 7th house, people are gonna be like, why aren't you responding to me? Why haven't I heard from you? And it's just gonna keep coming. So rather than not communicating or shutting down or opting to just like push it off and wait longer, just take the bull by the horns, have the conversation, be direct with people, realize that there is ways out of whatever is stressing you out. And maybe that means just telling somebody, hey, I need some time, I'm going through some stuff, or I'm really busy, I'm not ignoring you, I'll get back to you. But don't continue to feel stuck and incapable of having conversations with people that may be really important, okay? Part of being in a relationship of any kind is the back and forth. You have to be able to have that exchange. So don't get overwhelmed because things get a little loud this week with the sun in the 7th house and Mars in the 10th house. I have a feeling it may be more linked to your professional life, but nevertheless, if it does pan out in regards to a relationship with another person of some kind, have the conversation. Good luck, Libra. For my Scorpio and Scorpio risings, you have Mercury going into Aries in your natal 6th house. So the 6th house, health, right? Daily routine, your office space. It can also be about your habits. It can be about cleaning, organizing, getting things done. And in the sign of Aries, I feel like it's about your personal habits, right? Your daily routine, what you're eating, how your health is, what work you're doing. And Aries is a very active sign. So I do think that this is going to be for Scorpios more about health related and maybe even diet related as well. Now, Mercury rules the 8th house of, secrets, things that are hidden. It can deal with things that are scary, sexual health, mental health, psychological things. And then Mercury also rules the 11th house of your goals, your friends, and your wishes. So what happens with Mercury in the 6th house? Well, for starters, Mercury likes being in the 6th house because it says, let me organize, let me label, let me clean up, let me get all the dust bunnies. And it's about, being active. So I really want you Scorpios to take a look at things outside of work, okay? You're gonna have a lot of opportunities for work. Work can probably take over in the next few weeks with Jupiter in your 6th house and the sun in your 6th house. And here comes Mercury saying, okay, well, we need to be organizing things. A to-do list would be wonderful for you guys because it's going to help you kind of figure out all of the things that you need to get done and prioritize them. I have a feeling a lot of my Scorpios are probably getting a late start on their taxes because Mercury's in the 6th house. And so I would say if you have something that's changed with your taxes this year, or if you know that it's just going to be a huge mission, ask for help or really take your time, right? Especially with Mercury coming into conjunction with Jupiter, it makes me feel like for some of you guys, it may just make sense to pay somebody to do it or to help you do it because you may get overwhelmed. On the flip side, some of you guys may go, I want to learn how to do it this year. I might be filing differently. I might have, different odd jobs and I have different expenses, but I want to push myself and I want to learn how to do this. You could, it's just going to take some time. That's all. The 6th house is health and habits. So Scorpios, your bad habits, what you're eating that you shouldn't be eating, what you're drinking that you shouldn't be drinking, really paying attention to your diet. Aries deals with fitness and exercise, but it also deals with the head, right? Injuries, sinuses, bumps, and being a little bit more accident prone. I think of detoxes because of Mercury's connection here, and that it really starts with the mind and the mental state of, okay, yes, I can give up the chocolate, or yes, I can go to bed earlier, or yes, I can quit smoking. It starts with the mind here. So you need to wrap your head around what you're actually going to be changing, and then you need to tell yourself, this is what I'm doing. Once you do that, you're going to see between now and June, you're going to be able to clean up some of your habits. On top of that, you've also got Saturn in the 5th. So there is a sense of some of you guys are going, I'm not drinking, I'm not partying, I'm not spending my Saturday nights, staying up all night. You're trying to find more constructive ways, I think, of spending your time. So I feel like this is about looking into new routines. It might be even looking into new health studios or finding a trainer, the list goes on. So there's lots of things you can do here. All right, and being able to achieve some of those goals. And I would say you can do taxes with a friend, right? If you guys want to commiserate together because of the connection to the 11th, or if you know that you need to work out, doing that with another person, right? Mercury is doubles sometimes. So you may have some help from another person to help you get some of this stuff done. Oh, wow. So taking care of business, getting into it, the energy and the action is definitely going to be picking up big time. I think it's just about you being I'm just going to keep going, like the Energizer bunny. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little iffy about Chiron being there. I would say, Jupiter's already hit Chiron. The sun's going to come in conjunction to Chiron. We're going to start seeing North Node eclipses here soon. Be mindful that you do not have limitless energy. You may feel like this now, and it might mean that you know that the eclipses are coming in your 6th house. You know that you're also going to be seeing your 6th house Lord come into some squares. So you're like, yes, I know that I need to be better about my health and my habits. And it might even be that you're overworking. So while there's a lot of energy to get this stuff done, pace yourself. That's my advice. Good luck, my Scorpios. For Sag and Sag rising, you have got Mercury moving into the sign of Aries, into your natal 5th house. Mercury rules your 7th house of relationships, and it also rules your 10th house of work and career. I love this for you, Sag. Like, how many Sag risings are watching this? Like, how are things going for you guys, right? Yes, Saturn's in your 4th house. I don't want to hear you complain about it. You've got a lot of planets in your 5th house right now. Please enjoy this time. So it's about fun. It's about having fun. It's about having fun with your partners. It's about having fun and hanging out with your siblings. It's about being able to maybe travel or go on a trip with another person. Mercury can be about mobility. Mercury rules your 7th house of relationships. So it's, you know, friends, it can be siblings in Gemini, it can be your romantic partners. When it's in the 5th house, it's like, let's take a trip. Let's go to an amusement park. Let's go and watch a show. Like, let's go and watch a sports team play. There is a sense of just doing things that's more fun and spontaneous, being creative. That's something else. Mercury rules your 10th house. So I'm kind of thinking like some of you guys who work with a romantic partner or a spouse, it's a wonderful time to be like, let's start these new projects. Equally, if you are single and you don't have a partnership, it might mean that you're trying to figure out new services and offerings that you may have for your business that you want to start showcasing. 5th house is what we create, right? So while it's hobbies and crafting and being able to drum up new ideas that may be great businesses and it may be very successful, it can also be about just, you know, making time for playtime, like literally saying, okay, we're taking, you know, this weekend off, we're going somewhere, this is what we're going to do. And it's very active. So some of you guys are going to be, you know, working out, you're going to be playing sports. Some of you guys are going to be dancing. I mean, physical activities is what I think with the 5th house. So go and do things that are going to be fun with other people. And also make it a priority because of the connection to the 10th house. If you're in a business where you have a creative, you know, if you have a creative business, whether you're self-employed and you design something or, you know, you work with just any type of client independently, start thinking about new ways to be able to put your spin on your services and new things that you can create. Some of you guys are going to have like hobbies or side hustles that are going to turn into full-blown businesses because of this transit. Communicating, hanging out, talking about children, romance, love, and having fun. And I love that it naturally sextiles your 7th house. I think pretty much now through July is just like a really wonderful time in regards to relationships. And it's also going to be trining your ascendant. So everything's kind of flowing together. There's a sense of just actively participating and talking about what you love. And when Mercury comes into contact with Jupiter, it's aligning you with another person and doing something in the 5th house. So going to bars, going to shows, having a good time. You might meet somebody if you're single. It can be a really prominent time, especially in the 5th house while you're out having fun. Somebody just kind of pops in out of the blue. But it can also be about pregnancy because Jupiter's in the 5th. You've got Jupiter and Mercury conjunct, coming together, creating something, and the list goes on. So it's all about what you create and what you love. I love this transit for Sagittarians. I feel like it's definitely going to help kind of kick some of these Saturn blues, right? I get the 7 of Swords. So I could see this as being like, can I trust this? Is this real? Is this too good to be true? Like pinching yourself almost, right? 7 of Swords does talk about reason to be cautious. And I don't think that this is in a sense of relationships. I think that this is in a sense of questioning whether or not this is going to stay or the optimism and the momentum forward is going to continue. There may be self-doubt that's going on and questioning whether or not You're capable of some of the things that you're talking about doing. There can be a sense of doubting yourself. There can be a sense also of taking risks. The Sun, Jupiter, Mercury in the 5th house is like, sure, why not? I'll put $100 on that. And then you realize how quickly that $100 goes and that it was a bad bet or a bad investment. This is about really sussing this out and being careful with whose advice you buy. And while there's opportunity for big risk, there can be opportunity for big reward. I'm not wild about seeing your 5th house lord go into the 8th. It makes me feel like you might want to jump on something thinking it's a good idea and then realize like, oh, maybe that wasn't the best move. So if you have a feeling that something could be off or you're like, I want to do it, but I need some time, don't rush into anything and take any chances if you're not willing to potentially lose it, okay? Good luck, Sag. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. Welcome to Mercury in Aries. This will be interesting for you, as it is all the cardinal signs. So Mercury is moving into your 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. Mercury rules the 6th house of organization, routine, health, and work. And it also rules your natal 9th house of faraway places, your beliefs, legality, travel. Here's what I think. I think with a stellium of planets in the 4th house, home, property, family are all big themes. So really pay attention to this right now. Probably what I'm guessing is a lot of you guys are going, okay, I need to be organizing or fixing or cleaning something within the home. Maybe it means that you need the help of a sibling in regards to a matter. Maybe you're employing somebody to come and help you organize or, you know, help you clean out a garage or lay some cement somewhere or, you know, dig up a garden. It may be about busy work at home and being able to get this done. That's being initiated. There's some very loud energy in the skies for all of the cardinal signs this month because we've got a lot of focus in the 4th house, which is what you're doing behind the scenes at home in your private life. And all of this is squaring Mars in the 7th. So it does say that there's some friction with other people. It can be family. It can be partners that may be kind of challenging you when it comes to what you're trying to get done at home. Moves, organization, cleaning houses, taking care of sick relatives, the list goes on. There can be a lot of that stuff going on and just really trying to knock a lot of things out. But because you have Capricorn in your chart, you're going to see the opposition to Mars and the square to all of this. So it's really highlighting, I think, where there's a lot of action at home that needs to be dealt with, right? So if you need to buy a house, sell a home, rent a place, it's all going to probably come up as a result of this transit. And it may mean that you need to hire someone to stage a house so you can sell it, to clean it so you can move in, to come in and paint a wall because you don't like the color. So think about ways that you can be able to remedy some of this. There can also be, you know, thinking about traveling or looking at property that's further away. So whether it's in another state or it's in another country, that can come up as well because Jupiter is in the 4th house, especially if you're dealing with a home or an estate issue in another place. If you happen to be having property elsewhere, there can be some challenges in terms of dealing with an estate or maybe even trying to get documents or paperwork so you can travel or you can relocate. That could be the other way that I look at it. Try to breathe. Know that this is going to be pretty colorful over the next couple of weeks, not just because of all the planets in Aries, but Mars is the ruler of Aries and you've got Mars in the 7th. So you're going to feel like there's either partners or there's family that's kind of pushing your buttons and making it challenging for you to kind of get some of the things done that you want to get done. All right. Let's take a look and see what these cards say for you. I get the Page of Cups, which is positive. Okay, so this can be about a Cancer or a Pisces or a Scorpio. Can be about a younger person. But I think that this is probably going to be about you embracing some of these changes and working through some of the emotions. It can also be about you going, okay, I have to do these things. These have to happen because of a younger person or because of a romantic partner in my life. Jupiter squares are happening. And if Jupiter's squaring your sun, moon, or rising, or when we start to see, you know, Jupiter squaring stuff in the 7th house, it does represent, yes, there's lots of action going on with relationships. I'm having to deal with another person, but it's helping me get into a new space. So it's just growing pains. It can mean that there are relationships that are evolving and you're seeing the beginning process of these relationships beginning to grow. So there in turn, you're needing to make changes in your home zone to better kind of accommodate what's going on with relationships or family. But nevertheless, you know, this is a sweet card. It is a card that talks about being able to navigate some of these changes with an open heart. Okay? Good luck, Capricorn. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. Mercury is moving into the sign of Aries in your natal 3rd house. Mercury is comfortable there. It likes being in the 3rd or the 6th house. It functions a little bit better. Mercury traditionally rules your 5th house of creativity, joy, and children, as well as your 8th house of joint resources, investments, change, and transformation. Bottom line is this. You are going to be very vocal, okay, over the next couple of weeks because you've got the sun and Jupiter in your 3rd house. You're communicating with other people. You're telling them what's up. You're calling them. You're sharing articles. You're writing things. Some of you guys are getting ready to launch websites. You're writing books. You're learning new languages. Some of you guys are going to be moving in the 3rd house. Aries naturally sextiles your Aquarius rising. And I feel like the positive is that at least all of these planets in Aries are sextiling Pluto. So there's a sense of like, I'm going through this change, this transformation. I'm going through this shift. What am I going to do to have an outlet? I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go for a bike ride. I'm going to journal. I'm going to start talking about how I'm embracing change. I'm going to start focusing on what I can control, right? Because I think you guys are just going through such profound shifts and you may feel like you need to share these shifts with other people. Mercury rules your 5th house of creativity. So creative writing, blogs, podcasting, you know, new social media, super positive to be working on at this time. I do feel like there is a sense of sharing more of yourself with other people, being more transparent, talking about crisis, grief, health problems, major changes, right? All 8th house Virgo related things. Maybe you're sharing how you've had a difficult time with a health issue. Maybe you're sharing how you've had a difficult time with some shifts going on with either your physical body or shifts within your career, right? Because you got the nodes that are coming into a square with Pluto. Regardless, when in doubt, communicate. You never know where your story may inspire other people, and what may seem like an outlet for you may be literally the roadmap to helping other people move through crisis. So get those words out, communicate, speak, even if it's in a creative manner because of the connection to your 5th. And some of you guys are telling your children like what's up, like what's not working for you, what's not working for you in a sense of communication, where you want to make changes in terms of your relationships with them. Because Mercury is coming into contact with Chiron. So there can be some difficult conversations you're having with children, maybe even younger people, maybe even lovers. You know, if you've got a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and you're like, I just don't like the way that things are going, you might really feel inclined to be like, I didn't like this. Call them on it. You sit down, you have the conversation. Just be mindful you can come off a little abrasive with Pluto on your ascendant and these conjunctions in your 3rd. There's going to be a sense of you being like, I've had enough. This isn't happening anymore. Aries can get angry, okay, in the 3rd house. So just watch your tone and how you're communicating. Be more about where you're going, not be too focused on harboring negative emotions about what you're no longer tolerating. You get the sun card, and the sun is in your 3rd house, lighting everything up in terms of communication. This is also about joy, celebrating, positivity. You know, likely it's about career advancements or personal advancements that are bringing you happiness, a sense of contentment, and like things are finally going right after what's been a difficult time. And so maybe there is like this sense of you sharing this like redemption story with other people, right? Or feeling like, oh, now the clouds are parting and like it's been difficult, but now I know why I've had to go through some of these changes. positive news that you're sharing with others about your career, your children, and just happiness overall, and feeling like there's just like a really big shift. So I see Chiron and Jupiter in your third house as like being like very glasses half full, right? Trying to find that silver lining, being like, well, my job ended and my relationship ended and I moved, but at least now I'm free to do anything. I've heard a lot of that from like Aquarius risings recently, and I'm trying to encourage them to look at it in a sense of being really optimistic and positive about the potential for fresh starts, okay? Good luck to you guys. And we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. Mercury is moving into Aries. It's going to move through your natal second house. And Mercury has connections to your 7th of relationships and your 4th of home and family. So when Mercury moves through the second house, we are looking at our bank accounts, we're counting money, we're paying attention to what we're spending, we're kind of looking at a budget. We're definitely communicating and talking more about what we possess, what we own, or what our spending capabilities are. It's kind of hard not to look at this with the sun being in the second house and Jupiter being there. It's very likely that you're like, okay, I'm aware of what I've got, what I can spend, what I'm investing in. Maybe there's a chunk of change, you're thinking about doing something with it. Now, the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction is also really highlighting you and another person. So with Saturn on your ascendant, there is a sense of you practicing boundaries and being clear about what you need. And I wonder if like Mercury and Jupiter in the second house is like you're clearly defining, these are my possessions, this is my money, I want to work for my own money, I want to be able to earn it myself, I want to be able to obtain things. Maybe you're sharing that with another person. It is a really great time to be strategizing and getting ready to really focus on bringing in more resources. Later this year, we're going to see an eclipse in your second. We're going to see North Node moving into your second, and it's all going to be about what you can produce, what you can actually obtain on your own. So there will be this feeling of, I got to make the money. It's on me. There's more responsibility. For some, it's because now you guys are independent. For others, it's like this real grow up period where you're really going to see what your true capabilities are in a business sense and what you can actually bring in on your own. Mercury's connection to relationships makes me feel like you're telling other people, these are my fees, or I need to be paid, here's the invoice, or this is what it's going to cost in order for us to kind of do business together. The bottom line is making sure that you're getting your worth. And I think there's a lot of working through self-worth issues. Jupiter in your second house is wonderful for bringing in more money. The sun going into the second house is wonderful for more money, but you're going to work for it, right? The sun is connected to your 6th house. So you're working hard for things, you're bringing it in, and maybe you're starting to really see some of these things physically manifest and you're feeling good about what you're able to achieve. But definitely a lot of back and forth with you and another person about what you're making, what you're earning, what you're spending. And it can be kind of colorful because you are going to have Mars that's going to be in friction to these energies. So that does seem to kind of suggest that just because you have it, are you going to spend it all on something? Are you going to make a big purchase, right? You might. We're going to see a full moon that's coming up in Libra pretty soon. So there may be money that you owe to somebody else. Maybe you owe taxes. Maybe you're going, okay, I've made all this money, I'm going to spend it. But what you possess and what actually brings you happiness is going to be in friction a little bit later in the month. So even going into April. And I think that there can be good financial news that can come in also. I would not discredit some of these transits. It's just a matter of like realizing it's not always about the money. It can be about what you feel in terms of your own personal capabilities and whether or not you're feeling like you're getting validation. Because I feel like there's a lot of wanting validation from other people with Mercury in this house. Being like, okay, well, they didn't tell me it was good enough. And even though you had a really successful sale or you had a launch or maybe you got a bonus, you may not have felt like you got the appreciation or what have you, the pat on the back from other people. And that may be what you really want. Okay, so watch for that. And also spending in regards to your home, right? That's the other thing. It's like some of you guys are looking at investing money into buying a place. You're having to personally be the one who's going to go, I'm putting the down payment, I'm having to buy furniture, I'm having to support a parent because of Mercury's connection to the 4th house. And this has been a theme for a while. You've had Mercury, you've had Mars going retrograde in your 4th house. So many of you guys have been like, I'm living between 2 places, or I'm thinking about buying something and then I changed my mind and now I'm not sure. Now that Mars is leaving your 4th house, you're going to feel like, okay, now I can make a decision about where I want to be. And now I'm willing to invest the money in the lease, or, you know, buying the home, or, you know, committing to the place that I'm going to be moving to. See what the card says for you. 7 of coins. So still, like I said, are you, just because you have it, are you going to spend it? And this is such an appropriate card. 7 of coins is like, okay, I have it, but I'm being cautious. There's also like a sense of like really hoping that some investments are going to pay out. There can be a sense of being careful before you spend anything, because you might realize you want to save for a rainy day. Yes, money can be coming in. But this is saying, think about what you can do with that. Being able to just go and buy that expensive object might be great in the moment, but is your money better spent in another sense, right? Is there somewhere else you can be putting that money that's going to be better for you in the long run? Be cautious, right? Be conservative, be sensible about what you're doing with your resources, and really think it through. So that way, maybe you can make an investment where you can get your money to the point where it's working for you. It's not just you spending it and buying things, right? Good luck, my Pisces. So that's Mercury going through Aries for you guys. Hopefully it's a very productive period over these next few weeks. I'm excited to see how it manifests out in the world. I'm excited to see what you guys learn throughout this transit. Let me know how you're feeling. You can come back to this video equally. I really appreciate if you guys give me a thumbs up or you leave me a comment below. I read all your comments. I can't always get back to them, but I do read them. So I appreciate your guys' back and forth. It's always nice to hear from you. And I will be back on Sunday. I'll have a video for you guys on Sunday. We're going to talk about the astro weather and maybe start talking a little bit about the Mars ingress, and also the spring equinox that's going to be coming up here pretty soon. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. And as a reminder, I have to put this out there. I'll put it on my community tab. We're not having readings on Friday, tomorrow. I'm sorry. I know, very, very Mars square Neptune of me, but I've got family visiting in town, so I'm not going to be able to do the live. So I will be missing all of you guys on Friday. I'll put the link for next week. We're probably going to do astrology next week. So make sure you guys check out that community tab. I'll be back in a week's time doing that. I will see all of you guys on Sunday. Go work on your to-do list. All right. That's my Aries moon being assertive. Go work on your guys' to-do list. And I will see you guys later this week. Take care.